Hey everyone, I'm going to be covering cognitive development in early childhood in my presentation. So to kick things off, we're going to be looking at Piaget's stages of cognitive development and Vygotsky's sociocultural theory to give us a way to understand and measure children's mental development and progression. There's a nice picture of Piaget smoking a pipe. So according to Piaget, children are active learners. Knowledge is organized and constructed. Adaptation changes the organization of knowledge. A person's cognitive level is the combination of assimilation and accommodation, and children's understanding changes gradually. They progress through a series of cognitive stages, which I'm going to cover in the next slide. So the stage that I'm going to be focusing on in my presentation is the pre-operational stage, which is approximately from ages 2 to 6 or 7 years. In this stage, early representational thought tends to be slow. Thought is centered, usually focused on one salient piece of information or aspect of an event at a time. And as a result, thinking is usually not yet logical. Right, next, here's a picture of Lev Vygotsky. We'll be looking at his sociocultural theory of cognitive development. So Vygotsky said that both biological development and cultural experiences influence children's ability to think and learn. Cognitive development can differ across cultures, so he put more of an emphasis on the external processes rather than the internal processes. Whoops, I'll go back. And he compared how Western and Eastern cultures classified objects. And he also stated that development is largely socially mediated, and social contact is essential for learning. So scaffolding and language are key. Right. And then we're going to touch quickly on moral development, and this will help you answer practice question 7.5. So the social learning perspective says that moral behavior is what counts, observational learning plays a key role, and moral behavior is situation specific. So there are a couple different theories within this perspective. First, the operant learning theory says that our sense of right and wrong is learned through a history of reinforcers and punishers, much as any behavior or traits are learned. And then the social cognitive theory argues that our expectations and beliefs influence which behaviors are learned. And vicarious reinforcers, such as learning by observing others, media, parents, influence our sense of right and wrong as well as our actual behaviors. And then the cognitive development perspective says that children's understanding of right and wrong develops in line with their understanding of other problems to be solved. So in other words, thinking about right and wrong is related to the sensory-motor, pre-concrete, and formal operational thinking. Piaget labeled the stage of moral development during 4 to 7 years of age as heteronomous morality. So this is the initial stage of moral development. And in this stage, rules are seen as invariant, unchangeable, and beyond children's control or their influence. So they don't consider intentions during this stage, and they believe in imminent justice, which is immediate punishment for their infractions or wrongdoing. And consequences are really important in this stage, and then rules are external, not internally found. And Kohlberg just reiterated a lot of Piaget's theories. I wanted to provide this graph for you, or a chart, I should say, just to provide a concise comparison of Piaget and Vygotsky's perspectives, which will help you answer practice question 7.2, asking you to compare the two. But I wanted to highlight that the main difference between Piaget and Vygotsky is that Piaget believed that development drives learning, and Vygotsky believed that learning drives development. So the difference is in the emphasis. Right, so modern research indicates cognitive development is often domain specific. Understanding can differ in organization across domains. But nonetheless, Piaget's stages are still very helpful in understanding normative milestones and issues of cognitive development. So we're going to use his research to look at some of the normative and non-normative issues of cognitive development. Right, so this is just an overview, but improvements in executive functioning first include working memory. Working memory grows significantly in this stage of life. Self-regulatory skills improve, and then increased cognitive flexibility occurs. And improvements in these executive functioning support the development of logical thinking, language, and many other skills, and the perspective on taking skills. Right. So to name some specific milestones that occur from ages 1 to 2, children are able to identify objects that are similar, imitate the actions and language of adults, learn through exploration, point out familiar objects and people in picture books, tell the difference between me and you, and understand and respond to words. Right, from ages 2 to 3. During this stage, children in the sub-stage of development, they learn by asking questions such as why? And this will continue until ages 7. So Piaget labeled this stage, the sub-stage of cognitive development, as symbolic function. So between the ages of 2 and 4, children mastered the ability to picture, remember, understand, and replicate objects in their minds that are not immediately in front of them. So in other words, children can create mental images of objects and store them in their minds for later use. You can pause and read through the specific examples if you would like. And then from ages 3 to 4, Piaget labeled this substage of cognitive development as the intuitive thought substage. So the why and the how come questions become a lot more common. Piaget labeled this intuitive thought because he believed that children at this stage tend to be so certain of their knowledge and understand that they are unaware of how they gain this knowledge in the first place. So an example of this is knowing by intuition. Again, feel free to pause and read the specific examples of what children should typically be doing at this age. All right, next, from 4 to 6 years. So as children near the school age, they become better at using words, imitating adult actions, counting, and other basic activities that are important for school preparedness. So Piaget suggested that intuitive thinking children show a style of thinking he called centration. So these children typically hone in on one characteristic of someone or something and base their decisions or judgment on that one characteristic, rather than considering multiple characteristics. So for example, 4-year-olds who asked to put blocks into groups might focus his or her attention on the color of the blocks instead of the shape or the material from which they are constructed. Decentering, or combining with the concept of conservation, are prerequisites for more sophisticated logical thinking abilities. So you can pause and read through these specific examples of what 4 to 6-year-olds should typically be doing. All right, this slide covers normative issues of cognitive development in early childhood. So one of these is the inability to regulate emotions. So most children, when the second baby comes along, sibling rivalry or sibling jealousy may occur. So behaviors can range from mildly annoying to aggressive behavior and typically last throughout the toddler to preschool periods. These children might need more support in order to avoid developing a coercive interaction style like biting, hitting, or demanding attention. And aggressive children tend to have more difficulty with mentalizing and understanding the feelings of others, which is demonstrated in theory of mind tasks. Theory of mind is just an understanding of the mental underpinnings of human behavior. And then another normative issue is the inability to distinguish playing from real life. So children often have more fears, but these fears at this age are the result from what they see rather than what they hear. So this is because in the pre-operational stage, children don't necessarily distinguish playing from real life, and because their understanding of the world is rather limited, they tend to perceive what they see as reality. So as a clinician, understanding the intensity and duration of the fears is important to understand how much distress they're causing the child and the degree to which the fear is preventing the child from engaging in other activities that are important for their development. This slide covers a couple non-normative issues of cognitive development in early childhood. So the first of these is autism spectrum disorder. And this one is often diagnosed at this stage of a human's cognitive development. Our understanding of ASDs have come a really long way since autism was first introduced. It used to be separated into several categories, but now they've combined it into one complex heterogeneous group of neurological development disorders at the severe endpoint of a continuously distributed range of human characteristics found in the general population. So the major behavioral features of autism spectrum disorders include deficits in social interaction and communication patterns, and then behaviors or interests that are repetitive, stereotypical, or restrictive. Another non-normative issue of cognitive development in early childhood is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, otherwise known as ADHD, is one of the most common mental health disorders affecting children, even though it is non-normative. Symptoms of ADHD include inattention, which is not being able to keep focus, hyperactivity, which is excess movement that is not fitting to the setting, and then impulsivity, which is hasty acts that occur in the moment without thought. So ADHD symptoms, such as these, the way you tell the difference between these and then just common characteristics of being a child is that the hyperactivity and inattention are noticeably greater than expected for their age, and then they also cause distress or problems functioning at home, at school, or with friends. Right, why is all of this important to know? So I just summed it up with a few different bullet points, but this is not a exhaustive list of why it's important. There are many more reasons, but to sum it up, knowing the normative and non-normative cognitive milestones and issues of a child can, 1, help ensure clinicians correctly identify and label problematic behavior and delays. 2, it can help clinicians differentiate between normative and non-normative issues. 3, it can help ensure that clinicians catch and provide effective therapeutic techniques and strategies for cognitive delays and issues in a timely fashion. Research indicates that the earlier that cognitive delays and issues are addressed, the greater a person's chances will be to successfully cope with or overcome the adverse effects of that cognitive delay and issues that they may have on their life. And then 4, it can help make clinicians a useful resource for parents, which will help them to aid in bettering the parents' understanding of their child, and also understanding which behaviors they should and shouldn't be concerned about regarding their child, and provide them with tips and strategies to aid in their children's development. All right, here are my references. I hope you all found this presentation helpful and now have a better understanding of cognitive development in early childhood. Thanks for watching.